In this video, we're going to talk about the flagellates, and basically, out of the flagellates, we'll be talking about the Trypanosomatida, which is the family of the Trypanosome, and is a constitutive agent of trypanosomiasis. In the previous video, we talked about the Trichomonas species, and we're able to mention few Trichomonas species, which includes Trichomonas tenax, Trichomonas foetus, Pentatrichomonas hominis, and Trichomonas vaginalis. And we say uh, this Trichomonas species is a parasite of both man and animals, right? And we said the major one that is meant for man and is Trichomonas vaginalis, and we're able to talk about the morphology of Trichomonas vaginalis, the disease that it causes, which is trichomoniasis in both male and female, which can either be symptomatic or asymptomatic in both male and female. We're able to mention that they have anterior flagella, they have kinetosome where the flagella arises, they have axostyle that runs down through their body, they have undulating membrane, and they can actually be distinguished based on the nature of their undulating membrane as well as the number of their flagella. Right, those are what? Those are Trichomonas species. But in this video, we'll be talking about Trypanosomatid or Trypomatidae, which is the group of Trypanosome. Now, what are the specific learning objectives of this particular video? In this video, you'll be able to identify this particular organism that parasitizes man, which is Trypanosome, either Trypanosoma brucei or Trypanosoma busci. And you'll be able to define some common terms in medical parasitology that is relating to this particular parasite, as well as list the environmental and cultural, socio-economic factors that affect the distribution of this particular parasite, explain the effects caused by the parasite, describe the classification and the characteristic of the parasite group, and also we will be able to explain the mode of transmission, the source of infection, and the portal of entry of this particular parasite. Now, let us begin. This is a typical structure of a trypanosoma, a typical structure of an adult trypanosoma that causes a disease known as trypanosomiasis. Remember that I mentioned that we'll be talking about the flagellates first. So what are flagellates? That's the first thing we'll be talking about before we move to trypanosoma species. Now, talking about the flagellates. A flagellate can either be a blood flagellate or a tissue flagellate. You understand? Can either be what? A blood flagellate or a tissue flagellate. But before we talk about that, the blood and tissue of a human may be infected by one of the several species of flagellates, and it should be noted that we have six genera that of what? Of flagellates, but only two of them is capable of causing disease to man, and this disease they are capable of causing disease to man. Remember, I mentioned the types of parasites that we have in the first video that we make in parasitology, and we say we have different types of parasites. We have pathogenic parasites and non-pathogenic parasites. Pathogenic parasites are those ones that causes disease, which means out of six genera of flagellates, only two genera is what? Only two genera are pathogenic parasites. You understand? And which are the two genera are the Leishmania and the Trypanosoma. You understand? The Leishmania and the Trypanosoma, which means Leishmania species is capable of causing a disease known as Leishmaniasis. Trypanosoma species is capable of causing a disease known as what? Trypanosomiasis. All these organisms have developmental stage in blood-sucking arthropods as well as in man, which is vertebrate. You understand? And they are not meant to infect man only, they can infect other animals as well. But basically, we're talking about the infection in man and what? In blood-sucking arthropod. You understand? For example, Leishmania species is transmitted by sandflies of genus Phlebotomus or Lutzomania. You understand? And Trypanosoma is transmitted by tsetse fly. You understand? Tsetse fly of genus Glossina. Are you getting me now? And also, American trypanosome can be transmitted by tritomid bugs. Now, what are the general characteristics of flagellates? The first characteristic is that they reproduce by simple longitudinal binary fission. They reproduce by what? Single longitudinal binary fission, which means they reproduce asexually. And if you're talking about longitudinal binary fission, it means if you have a trypanosome like this, if you have a trypanosome like this, instead of it dividing like this, no, it won't divide like that. It is going to divide longitudinally. You understand? It's going to divide what? Longitudinally, which means this is how they divide. This is how they reproduce. Longitudinal what? Longitudinal simple binary division. You understand? The infective stage is always the vegetative form. It's always what? The vegetative form. Transmission occurs through biological insect vectors as intermediate hosts and man as definitive host. So they have what? They have intermediate host and they have definitive host. Hence, we can call them heteroxynous. Heteroxynous, which means the life cycle occurs in what? In different hosts. And we can call them digen or digenetic, you understand? They have different hosts, you understand? Even though they are not in digenesis, I'm just like using that as an example, you understand? The species are morphologically indistinguishable, but they can be differentiated on the basis of their clinical features and also their geographical distribution, serologic tests, cultural characteristics, vector, reservoir host, biochemical tests, as well as immunological tests. These are the way that we can differentiate them. Are you getting me now? Now, the different developmental forms are differentiated on the basis of, we have developmental form of these particular organisms. Remember I told you that they have different developmental forms, you understand? So they can be differentiated on the basis of presence or absence of free flagellum. Are you getting me now? Presence or absence of undulating membrane, position of undulating membrane, as well as the position of the what? Of the nucleus. Are you getting me? And the sixth characteristic is that they have the following main body parts. The flagellum, you understand? They have the flagellum, they have the kinetoplast, and the kinetoplast is divided into two. That is, the kinetoplast is divided into four, you understand? That is blepharoplast, a parabasal body, axoneme, nucleus, and what? And the undulating membrane, you understand? And based on their developmental stage or development in insect vector and their mode of transmission, trypanosomes, we're talking about trypanosomes now, not leishmania. Are you getting me now? Trypanosomes are grouped into two. We have two trypanosomes. We have the salivarian group, also known as the anterior station trypanosome, and we have the stechorian group, also known as the posterior station trypanosome. How do we differentiate from anterior from the posterior? The salivarian group are parasites that develop in the mid and the foreguts of their vector and are transmitted to man by inoculation of the parasites. You understand? They are transmitted to man by the inoculation of the parasites. That is salivarian trypanosome. They live in the what? In the foreguts and the midguts. You understand? But stechorian group or stechorian trypanosome, also known as posterior station trypanosome, develop in the hindguts of their vector and are transmitted to man by contamination of bited area with fishes or other things that we can use to contaminate what? The bited area, which we'll be talking about in leishmania species very soon. Now, which means I just said we have what? We have two. We have the salivarian trypanosome and the stechorian trypanosome. The salivarian is also known as anterior station trypanosome, and the stechorian is also known as the posterior station trypanosome. Now, based on their morphology, we can differentiate the different forms of what? Of trypanosome. Are you getting me now? Or of flagellates. Hence, the relationship between kinetosome and the central nucleus defines the morphological forms of the Trypanosomatidae. Differentiate what? The morphological form of Trypanosomatidae. Now, the first one, we have different morphological forms. The first one I'll be talking about is the A mastigotes. The A what? The A mastigotes. The A mastigotes is a round shaped with central nucleus, and the kinetosome is located at the anterior part of their nucleus. It is often a mature state of leishmania. They have no free flagellum and they have no undulating membrane. I repeat, they have what? No free flagellum and they have no undulating membrane. Hence, I can actually illustrate that using something like this. This is how they look. They are round shaped and they have their kinetosome somewhere around here, but they have no free flagellum and they have no undulating membrane, and there is a central nucleus. So this is how they look like. Now, the second one, which is promastigotes. Promastigotes cell has a cylindrical body with a central nucleus and anteriorly located kinetosome from where a free-flowing flagellum arises, but they lack undulating membrane. This group has central nucleus, they have kinetosome, they have no undulating membrane, and they are cylindrical. And it should be noted that this group of animals are what? They are also elongated. You understand? They are elongated. I get me now. So that's on that. So let me just illustrate that as well. So promastigotes looks like this. They are elongated. They have a kinetosome somewhere around there and a free-flowing flagella and a what? A central nucleus. Are you getting me now? So they have no what? They have no undulating membrane. If you can check, okay, they have no undulating membrane. Now, the third one, which is the choanomastigotes. The choanomastigotes is similar to promastigotes. They have central nucleus. They have superior kinetosome, but the free-flowing flagellum arises from a funnel-shaped structure. Arises from what? From a funnel-shaped structure. That is what differentiates the choanomastigote from the promastigote. So, if I want to illustrate choanomastigote now, I can have something like this. We have something like this. This is elongated body. This is an elongated body. They now have a funnel-shaped stuff like this, and the free flagellum arises from the what? From the funnel shaped, and they have what? They have a central nucleus. They have a central nucleus. So this is how choanomastigotes looks like. Now, moving from there to the next one, which is epimastigotes. An epimastigote cell is spindle-shaped with a central nucleus and a closely located anterior kinetosome. Remember, I did not say anterior. A closely located anterior kinetosome from where the anterior flagella arises with a short undulating membrane. They have undulating membrane, but the undulating membrane is short. Are you getting me now? The undulating membrane was what? Is short. So, if I want to illustrate this one now, I'm going to have something like this. Remember, I told you that they are what? They are elongated. So I have to like draw it like this. They are elongated and they have almost kinetosome that is almost anteriorly located. Are you getting me now? And they have an undulating membrane, and they have a free-flowing flagella, and they have a what? A nucleus. Are you getting me now? So this is how epimastigote looks like. Are you getting me? So the next one is opistomastigotes. Opistomastigotes cell is cylindrical. They have central nucleus and the kinetosome is located posteriorly. The kinetosome is located what? Posteriorly. But they have no undulating membrane. They have no what? No undulating membrane. And they have no undulating membrane, but they have a what? A central nucleus. So if I want to illustrate that particular one, we can have something like this. We can have something like a spindle-shaped trypanosome. We have a posterior kinetosome, and we have a flagella that arises from it. You understand? And there is a central nucleus. Remember, kinetosome is where the flagella arises from. You understand? Kinetosome is where the flagella arises from. And the next one is trypomastigote. That's the next one. The trypomastigote. The trypomastigote is a spindle shaped with central nucleus and a posteriorly located kinetosome from which anterior flagellum arises with undulating membrane. So we can say trypomastigote is similar to opistomastigote. You understand? Trypomastigote is similar to opistomastigote. But what differentiates it is that the trypomastigote has an undulating membrane. You understand? It has a what? It has an undulating membrane. And most Trypanosome species is presented in form of trypomastigote. You understand? So let me just illustrate that. let us have something like this. We have it is spindle shaped, sorry, and we have a kinetosome that is located posteriorly, and the undulating membrane. So it arises from there, you understand? And they have what? They have a central nucleus. I get it. That this is just an illustration, not really perfect like that. Or let me just try and illustrate it again. Spindle shaped, yeah, something like this, and a kinetosome that arises from here, and a free flowing flagellum, as well as what? As the central nucleus, you understand? So this is how trypomastigote looks like. Are you getting me? So this is what? This is the flagellum. This is the kinetosome. This is the nucleus, and this place is the undulating membrane. Are you getting me now? So this is how they looks like. Now let us say a little thing about trypanosome species. A typical trypanosome morphology and its characteristics are similar to that of trypomastigotes because it is elongated and spindle shaped with a central nucleus, posteriorly located kinetosome from where flagellum arose either anterior posteriorly or posterior laterally along the margin of the undulating membrane. The cell of these trypanosome species can be 15 to 13 micrometer long and 1.5 to 3.0 micrometer wide. They are transmitted by insects, which is known as sesefly of Glossina papalis. And this group of animals causes a serious disease known as trypanosomiasis. And this disease is of great economic importance and can cause death to what? Death to man. Remember I told you that they can be classified morphologically into anterior station trypanosome or posterior station trypanosome, which is salivarian or stercorarian. So we have different examples of trypanosome species. We have Trypanosoma brucei, we have Trypanosoma congolensis, and Trypanosoma vivax. And these three are salivarian trypanosome. Are you getting me now? They live in the midguts or the foreguts of the insect vector. Are you getting me now? And in the second one, we have Trypanosoma cruzi, we have Trypanosoma lewisi, and Trypanosoma terreri, which is stercorarian trypanosome. These ones, they live in the what? They live in the hindguts of the what? The hindgut of the insect vector. Now, let us just say a little bit about the differences, or how does anterior station trypanosome are distinguished from posterior station trypanosome. I get me now. How are they what? How are they distinguished? Now, this is how you can actually distinguish them. The presence of small kinetosome or kinetoplast located terminally or subterminally at the posterior end. That is the first way you can actually differentiate them. They have a small kinetosome, that is anterior station trypanosome. They have a small kinetosome or kinetoplast that is located terminally or subterminally at the posterior end. The second thing is the posterior end is either round or blunt shape. The posterior end of what? Of the trypanosome that is anterior station is either round or what? Or blunt shape. So the third thing is the flagellum is usually short, and in some cases it can be absent. You understand? The flagellum is usually short, and in some cases it can be what? It can be absent. And the undulating membrane varies with species. So I can actually illustrate that. Let's say they have something like this, but their posterior end is either blunt or round. You understand? They have a kinetosome that is short, and they have what? They have an undulating membrane which varies with each species, but their flagellum is usually short, or in some cases it can be absent, and they have a what? They have a central nucleus. So this is all about the introduction to flagellates and introduction to Trypanosoma species. In the next video, we'll be talking about each representative of and either anterior station trypanosome or posterior station trypanosome. We'll be taking one representative from them. And in anterior station, we'll be taking Trypanosoma brucei. In posterior station, we'll be taking Trypanosoma cruzi. You understand? So, what we have said so far, we've talked about the flagellates, and we're able to say they have kinetosome from which the flagella originates. They have kinetosome. They can be differentiated morphologically into amastigotes, which is this, into epimastigotes, which is this, into promastigotes, which is this, into epimastigotes, which is this, and we can also differentiate into opistomastigotes, which is this, and trypomastigotes, which is this trypomastigote. So that is what we have actually talked about so far. And in the next video, we'll be talking about Trypanosoma species. Thank you for listening and subscribe for more. Thank you.